It's so nice to have you with us. It is something of interest. In my travels out and about the other day, I picked up a newspaper. It's called the News-Telegraph. I was waiting for my dinner at the local deli, and they had this newspaper, so I was reading it, and it is a monthly newspaper geared to the gay and lesbian population. As I read it, I was more impressed. I called the regional editor, a gentleman by the name of John Barnett, who agreed to come and discuss with us on something of interest, the newspaper. John, welcome.
Thank you.
John said, you can talk about anything you want to talk about, and I have taken you at your word, John.
It's fine.
Okay.
I have an answer for every question, though.
Okay.
Sometimes it may be none of your business.
Okay, and if that's the case, I can
Ask
handle
away.
that. I can handle that. As we talked, I asked you if there was anything that you would like to talk about that wasn't in the newspaper. The subject, I thought, was of enough importance to begin with, and that was the increase in violence against the gay population. What's happening?
Well, the gay community, as it becomes more visible and people become more aware of it, there are people who don't understand gay and lesbian people, and there are people who truly hate gay and lesbian people. I think that there's been a backlash to some of the progress that's been made in our efforts to get acceptance and understanding that's resulted in an increase in violence. And as we see these efforts that are going on across the country, these anti-gay initiatives, one of the consequences that we're seeing and measuring is a tremendous increase in the violence against gay and lesbian people. We've seen it in Colorado and Oregon, and we anticipate we'll see it here in Missouri.
And we're not talking about violence against criminals here, or people that are going to hurt, or people that are going to rob, or whatever. We're talking about regular citizens participating in the society around them who are not allowed to.
What we're seeing are incidents of harassment and violence against people for no reason other than they're perceived to be, they may not even actually be, but they're perceived to be gay or lesbian.
Do you believe the lead article in your newspaper says, this is, Missouri is the latest battleground for the far right wing. The Amendment Coalition has filed a constitutional amendment proposition in the state of Missouri banning gays, lesbians, bisexual, and, quote, any other sexual orientation, end quote, from civil rights protection, and they plan to raise $2 million for the campaign. It was refiled on June the 29th to read, the newer version talks about the sexual orientation could not be construed as being a protected group under a minority status or quota preferences. You put forth the proposition that the word quota raises a red flag with a lot of people, and therefore the whole issue is skewed.
Yeah, what we're seeing in Missouri, with the Amendment Coalition is an effort very similar to what went on in Colorado. They've added a few words to increase the confusion for the voters of what's involved in these ordinances that have been passed in now 4 cities in Missouri, Kansas City, St. Louis, Festus, and Columbia, where civil rights protection has been extended based on sexual orientation. Because those ordinances, their efforts to repeal those ordinances have failed, they're now taking their effort to the state level, because that's the only option they have at this point. And it's interesting that part of what you read was that they intend to raise $2 million in the process. That's just for the campaign.
And that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and it's not the total amount that's being raised on the backs of gay and lesbian people by the religious far right. They're nonstop fundraising on gay and lesbian issues.
Why is it? Please explain to me. There are so many problems in the world. I mean, there is no trouble choosing a problem to focus on. Why has sexuality become such a major issue?
I think that's the question. That's a real good question. I don't know that I have an answer for it. There have been other issues that have been flashpoint issues in this country before. This is kind of the current rage. It's something that can push people's emotional buttons. There's a lot of misinformation and confusion about who gay and lesbian people are. And there's another group of people that are seeking power and money who have found that they can use this emotional issue as a tool for them.
And see, there I think is the key. If we go back in history, let's look at Germany in 1927, 1928, 1929. They were suffering from a terrible economic depression. Hitler, or whoever the person or group is that wishes to pull together a coalition, always picks on whatever is weak or whatever they see that they can mobilize like thinkers or whatever against. In this case, Hitler mobilized Germany against the Jews and the gypsies and the people who
and
were
homosexuals.
Yeah.
Homosexuals
See, and this is the weak population. I mean, you know, that is true because you don't have the legislative power and the money and that kind of thing.
A lot of people don't realize that the pink triangle, the symbol that a lot of gay groups use, is the symbol that the Nazis put on homosexuals in the concentration camps. We were murdered right alongside our Jewish and gypsy brothers and sisters. But you're right, when times get bad, there's a group of people who tend to look for scapegoats to blame all of our problems
I really
on.
think that that's what's happening here, and it's frightening.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're in an unstable time in history, and with a lot of problems around the world and in this country, and we need to be real careful about who we're going to blame for these problems and how we're going to correct them. Nailing gay and lesbian people is not the answer.
No, but it is the answer to mobilizing this group of people that they want to mobilize for whatever purpose.
Right.
That is an answer.
And that's what we're seeing.
And that is dangerous. Now, given that, we're setting the stage here to move on. Given that, there is another article in the paper, and it says gay pride events continue to grow. And there was a gay pride parade here, and there was also one in St. Louis. Is that correct?
And other cities around our area.
Okay. Now, the idea was that to raise people's consciousness about the fact that there are people in this world who do have a different thought or who may look a little different, but it's okay. Okay? This was to be a very positive kind of approach. Agreed?
Right.
Are we there so far?
Right.
Okay. Now, I wish to go to page 20, and I want to look with you at a letter that appeared on page 20. This is a letter to the editor. And this is from a gentleman from ACT UP, which is a group...
it's an AIDS activist group.
Okay, in St. Louis. He says, how do we expect others to take us seriously? Could we as gays and lesbians coexist with heterosexuals in a productive, nonviolent, anti-racist environment? Some say yes, if we redefine who we are. Redefining who we are, exclamation point. That's exactly what we did to ourselves in a march through the streets of St. Louis. In high drag, he says, we paraded our most prized pets and favorite freaks for all the world to see. Now this man is a homosexual, speaking. Okay. By doing so, for the most part, we were reaffirming what the right wing is trying to do and say. We are fly-by-night sex freaks and definitely should not be allowed to teach children. We sold out, sold our rights and our reputation for a 2-hour march and a day in the park. He says, dumb queens. They even threw in the mayor for flavor. Now, what do you think about that?
I think it's, you open up an enormous can of worms here. First of all, it shows that as a paper, we try to present a form that allows a multiplicity of viewpoints and perspectives. The gay and lesbian community is the most diverse community I know of as far as any grouping of people. And that creates a lot of interaction and discourse and, in fact, disagreements and arguments. What the writer is talking about is when we do the parades to show the world who we are,